simple and plain. No superpowers, no famous name, but I stand tall, 'cause I believe something greater has come alive inside of me. I have felt the Spirit stirring in my soul, deep in my soul. I will give love.
Good morning and welcome to our Sunday morning celebration service. It's so good to have you here with us this morning. I love starting our morning out with Denise Rosier, reminding us about the power of love and kindness. And then, I may be one, but I can surely make a difference. And we're going to be talking more about that today. So we're going to start our service off with another Denise Rosier song done by our band with John Russ and Sarah Gatewood, who is Mitch's neighbor. So just enjoy and sing along because you'll know this song. This is a song that we've sung quite often at our Unity. Spirit is in this place.
Come here as we are.
our band and to Beck for taping that for us. And what a wonderful way to start our day, knowing that wherever we are, Spirit is right where we are, because Spirit is in this place within us and Spirit is everywhere else. Now let's go on and hear what Mitch has to share with us this morning.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a lovely Sunday morning. It's Saturday here, and it is hot. Oh my goodness. Here is the summertime, right? Oh my goodness. It's heated up out there. It's very humid. I have sweat through my clothes at least twice today. So it's been a good day. It's been a very good day. I'm excited about that. I want to say, I feel so very, very blessed. About a year and a half ago, Carrie let me move into a house with the kids and her, a brand new place. And at 44, I'm kind of done making like good long-term friends. However, we became good friends with our next door neighbors, the Gatewoods. There's Eric and Sarah and their 3 boys, who I won't name because they have not earned the right yet. That's a different situation all the way together. Anyway, so I'm extremely pleased. Sarah came over this morning with the band and she sang with us, and she has a beautiful voice. So I want to say you guys are very, very lucky because you get to enjoy Sarah and John Russ singing. The band played great this morning. We had a really, really good session. So enjoy the music. In these troubled times, John Russ picked out some very good music to solidify. I think that we all have our own, not our own, but Unity has a philosophy of we are all one. And in these times of protest and upheaval, we all stand together. And that's what today's songs are about, and that's what we're about today. So let's join in our statement of faith. Our mission is to encourage and inspire spiritual and personal growth by empowering each other to be authentically all that we came here to be. And that's what we're all about right now. We're all here to inspire each other to be authentically all that we came here to be. And as a corollary to that, our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. That ties in directly to all the turmoil that's going on, all the protests, all the backlash that's happened, all of the craziness that's happened. 2020, woo, what a year, eh? What a year. But we all know that we're all one, and we can all support each other. We can all be there for each other, and we can all strive for equality because we're all one. If you would now please join me. Well, you can't join me. I'm going to go ahead and start this off. This is our affirmation. We are one in spirit with God and with each other. Once again, together, we are one in spirit with God and with each other. Our daily word is this. As we watch the news or read the newspaper, it's easy to forget that we were all children of God. If we are faced or witnessing intolerance from others, we can bless the situation and acknowledge that there is a divine power in charge. Although others may seem worlds apart from us, we all look at the same sky, bask in the glow of the same sun, and are blessed by the same all-knowing, innate power that is God. Although we may look different on the outside, we are all still one with God, one with each other, sharing the same innate spirituality. So we don't look at each other with an air of indifference, but with an attitude of kinship and kindship. By following God's guidance, we live together in peace and in harmony. Our scripture today is John 3:1. It is, see what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children of God. That's 1 John 3:1. Once again, our affirmation, we are one in spirit with God and with each other. Together, we are one in spirit with God and with each other. Let's lead us into prayer. As we enter into prayer, for those who prayer has been requested, please know that you can request prayer for yourself or a loved one by calling the church at 417-887-2214 and leaving a message, or you can email us at ccunity@sbcglobal.net. Prayer was requested this week for Mary Jo, Steve, the health of our country. Let us pray. Gently close your outer eyes, if comfortable for you, and take a deep breath, becoming centered in the presence of God in us, as us, and through us. The knowledge of the presence of God calms and soothes our very being and makes us feel safe and secure. We breathe deeply again and forgive all we believe have wronged us, including ourselves, and release any fear of the present and future. We dedicate this prayer to the equality, the acceptance, the respect of all peoples on this earth. Jesus said, "Love one another as you have loved yourself." We take this time to visualize the healing of the planet, to visualize the healing of our country, the healing of bodies, minds, and affairs for all. We also enfold ourselves with love so that we have the capacity to love others. We choose to be generous, to be kind, to be understanding, to be open to all, especially those whose beliefs or needs may be different from ours. We are infinitely grateful for all our blessings, and we rejoice in the blessings for the future. God is good. Amen. Well, another week has passed, and I haven't got to see hardly any of you, but I cannot wait. I love you all. Hope to see you all soon. God bless you. You are blessed. And namaste.
And thank you, Mitch. And before we go into our meditation, I'd like to share with you a couple of short videos from a Unity up in headquarters that I think are relevant for today.
This is an open letter to Black America from Unity Ministers. We love you, and we embrace our responsibility to eradicate racism. It is our divine appointment to stand with you,
to see you,
to hear you,
to listen,
to be in conversation with you,
to be with your anger without judgment,
to know your sacred worth,
to acknowledge my privilege,
to take responsibility,
to confront complacency,
to back my words with action, palabras con acción,
to be accountable for effecting change in my community,
to support Black-owned businesses,
to be a bender of the arc of the moral universe that bends toward justice,
to demand the end of police brutality,
to use my voice and my vote to end systemic racism,
to hold you and our country in prayer,
to be a call to action,
to be a voice for justice,
to be a voice for unity.
Thanks to all of you. I'm Jim Blake, and I serve as the CEO for Unity World Headquarters at Unity Village. We find ourselves in the midst of seeming chaos everywhere we look. While in the throes of the largest pandemic in a century, we are now seeing unprecedented nationwide unrest. These are not small issues we are trying to navigate. We are taking on the safety, health, and well-being of our families, friends, and loved ones, while at the same time exposing and overturning centuries of bias, privilege, and racism that has long been screaming to be acknowledged and addressed. We need profound change that preserves and protects the human rights of every individual in this country. It's a lot to process, individually or collectively. In the midst of so much divisiveness at every turn, it can be easy to become overwhelmed. There is tremendous pain, suffering, injustice that must be accounted for. My message today is to tell you that wherever you are in the midst of this, we see you, we feel you, we hear you. We are listening so that we may understand deeply what troubles you and how unity can be a source of comfort, education, and inspiration as we walk together and forge a new path forward, ushering in the great change that is so desperately needed right now. Our commitment and calling at Unity to help and serve has never been more steadfast or strong. And though we may not have all of the answers, we are working as hard as we can to provide a platform for the voices of change to be heard, to create a safe container that is steeped in spiritual principle so that we may together listen deeply, grieve, pray, connect with empathy, have dialogue, share information, and lift the consciousness and the conversation. May our prayers and our dialogue be transformed into spiritual right action that will create long-lasting and meaningful change. This is our commitment to you. We stand with you in unity.
was important to me to show these two things before we go into meditation today, because what I would like for us as we move into meditation today is simply to open up our entire being to a greater awareness of what is ours to do, what is ours to be, what is ours to look at, what is ours to let go of. How can we be part of the reconciliation? How can we be a part of the solution, of the ending of this monster called racism? And I'm very grateful, as I'm sure you are, that to be a part of unity and to be a part of a collective consciousness that has that deep desire and that willingness to learn and to grow in this. So I'm going to invite you, if you would like, to close your eyes for a moment. And as Paul rings our prayer bowl for us this morning, I just invite you to let the tones of the prayer bowl just open your heart space. Just feel it literally open your heart space. And as we enter this time, beloved Spirit, we invite your light. We invite your wisdom. We invite your guidance. We invite your love to permeate our minds, to permeate our hearts. Create in me, O God, a clean heart. Guide me, beloved Spirit, into a willingness to be open to see where I have continued to be part of the continuing problem of otherness and racism and white supremacy as a white person. Guide me, beloved Spirit, in letting down any of my defenses and simply having an open willingness to listen with the intent to be changed by what I hear. Guide me, beloved Spirit, in being in service to love, in being in service to oneness, in being in service to hope and to peace, to kindness and to compassion. Create in me, O God, a clean heart. Let us move into the silence for just a minute. And I invite you to say this inside your beingness. Create in me, O God, a clean heart. And I say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is, and so it shall be. And now we're going to be blessed again by our band and Sarah Gatewood, John Rust, and singing Help Each Other Through. And this is by Sue K. Riley and numerous other New Thought artists. our band, John Russ, Mitch Brashears, Richard Sigler, John Merrifield, Blaine Stiles, and Sarah Gatewood today. Thank you so much. And I love that, what we can do is be there for each other and help each other through, but I'm going to move us a little bit further today, hopefully. And, originally I had named this talk today, The Dark Night of the Collective Soul, because I really do believe that that's part of what we are in today. But because of recent, a lot of Facebook things about this particular topic right here, Black Lives Matter, I've decided to name my talk Black Lives Matter, because this is a very, very, very important thing that we must focus on. There's been a lot of conversation about, no, it's all lives matter, but I loved this. I thought this was a great way to say it. And this was by Doug Williford. If my wife comes to me in obvious pain and asks, "Do you love me?" an answer of "I love everyone" would be truthful, but also hurtful and cruel in the moment. If a coworker comes to me upset and says my father just died, a response of "everyone's parents die" would be truthful, but hurtful and cruel in the moment. So when a friend speaks up in a time of obvious pain and hurt and says Black Lives Matter, a response of "all lives matter" is truthful, but it's hurtful and cruel in the moment. So my friends, today we are talking about racism, about white privilege, white fragility, white supremacy, and the fact that Black lives matter. Now, I am going to invite you to get ready to be a little bit uncomfortable in this talk. This is not a comfortable topic for most of us because honestly, the majority of us listening to this message really sincerely believe that we are not racist. I know that I've said it, I've heard it said so many times. I'm not a racist. I don't have a racist bone in my body. Here's the thing, and here's what I really want us to hear. If we truly want to be part of the solution of ending this monster called racism, we must be willing to become uncomfortable, and we must be willing to entertain the idea that we, you and I, white people, are continuing to be part of systemic racism without even knowing it. We cannot truly be part of the solution if we don't even know that we are part of the problem. And that's why we must educate ourselves. And that is what today is about. It's about starting the conversation. And you're gonna hear me repeat myself in different things today. I will tell you that this talk has been, there are times when I feel like I truly birth a talk, and this has been a talk that has been birthed. There's been a lot of pain in this week and a lot of how do I address this. But I feel that I finally did get the direction of this, and like I said, it's going to make us uncomfortable. You know what? That's my job. It's to make us uncomfortable so that hopefully we can be, broken out of an old mold and an old way of being. Now, with this idea of the dark night of the collective soul, as I look at what's been happening over the past 3+ years, I see that the worst of behaviors have been given permission to present themselves over and over and over again. We have leadership across the board that is morally bankrupt, and we have the ginormous ego of man in control. So I would like to share with you what Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith shares. I need to just get to this on my computer. I couldn't actually bring it up on my PowerPoint so that you can hear what his thoughts are on this. I love Michael Beckwith. He's just an amazing person.
And fear diminishes your perspective, blocks your perception, inhibits wisdom, guidance, and direction. So the world has taken a nightmare pill where they're living in the vibration of a worst-case scenario and all the things that come with that. From the higher perspective, we're in a deep cleansing, which means that we're in a great clearing right now. You can see when you look out on the world events, things that would have taken years for us to discover, we now find out the next day. Like politicians would tell a lie. You wouldn't know that for 5 years. They got away with it. Today, you can see them lying right in front of you. You know they're telling a lie. So things are much more transparent. So right now we're in a situation where you're looking at the death of an old paradigm and the birth of the new. But the old paradigm is very loud and trying to hold on. And the new, you have little buds of the new springing up, but they're not as loud as the old. And so I always like to say that those who are waking up and are embracing a higher order of being, love, compassion, generosity, service, there's no superiority or inferiority around humanity. We're all sourced from the same source. People who are awakened to that, I like to say that we are the reporters of the new paradigm that's yet to be. And the other individuals are reporters of the status quo and that which is dying. So when you turn on the news and you look at the reporters telling you something, they're actually reporting from a status quo and old paradigm. And it inundates people's minds. People actually believe what they're looking at, even though they forget that we live in one of the most censored countries in the world. And you're only going to get what powers that be want you to see. So when you ask what's going on, there's a lot of flux, a lot of turbulence. Everything is up. Racism, white superiority, hate, all of that, so we have to thank 45 for allowing that to be more transparent. He accidentally opened up the curtain to see what we've been fomenting for years. We know about racism. We know about the hatred of the color of our skin. We know about it. But he's opened up the window so everybody is seeing it and saying, wow, this is still going on. This is real. So what looks bad, and it is terrible, death, mayhem, police brutality, politicizing of a COVID-19, making a political football rather than dealing with some serious science behind it. It's all a part of an old paradigm trying to hold on. And the first thing that has to happen is individuals have to know how to handle fear. They have to know how to navigate with that. They have to know how to not allow it to run them.
I find in that message, I find hopefulness in that message and I'm going to explain it this way. In Unity, we believe in something called chemicalization. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, tells us that chemicalization, let me go to my current slide here, is a condition in the mind, it will come up here, that is brought about by conflict that takes place when a high spiritual realization contacts an old error state of consciousness. Whenever a new spiritual idea is introduced into the mind, some negative belief is disturbed. And guess what? It resists. With this resistance comes more or less commotion in the consciousness, and which also expresses in the physical. Now, why is that important today? Because as a white culture, we have been in error thinking since we decimated, desecrated, stole, terrorized, lied, and out, took America from its rightful owners, the Native Americans. And from that point on, we as white people took on the role of white supremacy, the supreme race. And we have been perpetuating that error thinking in this country since then. Yet, there are many, many, many of us who are waking up and who are saying no more. And to me, that's what Michael was talking about. There's this old way of being, but then there's those of us who are waking up and who are saying no more. We see what is happening and we want to be part of the solution. And this, my friends, is chemicalization. The old paradigms are being confronted by those of us saying no more. And as Michael Beck was said, the old way is getting louder because it knows that it is losing its power. And that is why it is more important now than it ever has been for us to really be willing to enter the discussion with an open heart and with an open mind. As I've said before, with listening, with the willingness to be changed by what we hear, not thinking that we have the answers, not going into the conversation, declaring I'm not a racist, I'm not a white supremacist, but being willing to see that perhaps we have been part of the problem without even realizing it. That's the only way that we're going to begin to affect change in all of this. And again, just like me, you might be thinking, but I'm not a racist. But I will tell you that I have done a lot of reading this week. I have done a lot of listening to things, and in everything that I've read and in everything that I've been listening to, as progressive as we think that we are, racism is deeply ingrained into the very fabric of our white culture. And to simply say that I am not a racist without a willingness to look deeper does not progress the very thing that I know that as progressive people we want to progress. We want there to be oneness, and we want there to be equality, but we have to be able to take a really solid, honest look at ourselves. Now, one of the things that I watched this week was by Dr. Robin DiAngelo. She has a book called White Fragility. This is one of the books that I would highly recommend that you watch, but read. But I watched about an hour and a half presentation that she did on her book 2 days after it came out. And so here's some things that she shares with us about racism. So this is what the definition of racism was after the civil rights movement. A racist is an individual who consciously does not like people based on race and is intentionally mean to them. So here's what she says about this. Always an individual, always conscious, always intentional. That definition virtually exempts all white people from racism, and she believes that the definition is the root of all white defensiveness on racism because it makes it virtually impossible to talk to the average person about the inevitable absorption of a racist world view that we get from being socialized in a racist culture in which white supremacy is the bedrock. She says, you suggest that I have done anything that I've done or said is racially problematic in any way, and I'm going to hear a question of my moral character, and I'm going to need to defend my moral character. When you look at this definition, even though this definition actually was better because it was after the civil rights movement, this is why you and I say we're not racist. Because we are not consciously, intentionally being mean or doing anything bad to another race. And that's why this continues to be a problem for us. So she also has what she calls the good and the bad binary of racism. So what we have is racist equals bad. And what that is a person who is ignorant, bigoted, prejudiced, mean-spirited, old, and Southern. But a non-racist equals, which is a good person, is someone who is educated, progressive, open-minded, well-intended, and generally young. So again, we can see how you and I can be sitting here today saying, I am not a racist. I am not a part of this racist movement, because these definitions, just by virtue of what they are, they exempt us from that. So let's look at what the dictionary says about racism. Racism is a belief or doctrine that inherent differences among the various human racial groups determine cultural or individual achievement involving the idea that one's own race is superior and has the right to dominate others, or that a particular racial group is inferior to the others. And the reality, my friends, is that is the culture that we live in today. We cannot deny that that is not the culture that we live in today. She showed a picture of this, which was really telling. This is a picture of the Jeopardy board game from the Grand Champion College Jeopardy round. And she said this speaks volumes, because not knowing our history and being able to trace it into the present is one of the volumes that it speaks. The thing is, this is the history of our country. This is not their history. It didn't happen in a vacuum. And it's always important to know and to be able to tell the story. Paul and I last night started watching a documentary called 13 on Netflix. And wow, to really get into some of the historical aspect of the war on drugs and how that all came about and why is eye-opening. So I encourage you, if you have the opportunity, it's simply called 13, write out the number.
13th Amendment.
Oh, the 13th Amendment. Okay. Okay, so here's the thing, is, my friends, we're simply ignorant, and we've taken that word in our culture and made it a negative thing. But here's what the definition of ignorant is. It's simply lacking in knowledge or training, unlearned, lacking knowledge or information as to a particular subject or fact, uninformed or unaware. And I believe that most of us are ignorant when it comes to our role, our continued role in the perpetuation of racism and otherness in our culture. So we must become willing to be educated in this, to be open to the realization that we have not been doing enough, that there is so much more to the ingrained history of the white people than we are even remotely aware of. So Dr. D'Angelo said numerous things that really struck me as a foundation that I have, and I believe that most all of us have as white people unconsciously, and that is a foundation of otherness, and again, of white superiority or white supremacy. We are a culture that considers ourselves superior to every other culture on the face of the planet. Not just America. We have got to get real, and we have got to get honest with this. I grew up hearing that I lived in America and America is the greatest country in the world. I have heard that all my life, and I'm sure you have as well. So if we're the most powerful, we're the greatest country in America, and we are essentially run and have been run by white males, then it stands that whites are best. You know, as white people, we're the most intelligent, we're the higher species. And as white Americans, here's the thing, you guys, is we've had that message hammered into the very fibers of our being, passed down from generation to generation. And do you know why I know this to be true? Because we haven't progressed very much in the last centuries that all of this has been happening. We haven't. We have been in such a sleep state, somewhat aware, but totally unaware of our unconscious part in the continuation of the very thing that we really want to eradicate, and that is the monster of racism on any level. And if you think we have progressed, let's look at the Native Americans. You know, from 1778 to 1871, the United States entered into over 500 treaties with the Native American tribes. Do you know that all of these treaties since have been violated in some way or outright broken by the U.S. government, with only one treaty being broken by the Native Americans? Let's look at Standing Rock. And what happened there? They actually made it illegal to protest on their own land, which was an illegal thing to do, because we are the almighty white people and we wanted our oil pipeline to go through there. So once again, we took their sacred land. Let's look at how we treat Latinos in America. You know, Paul and I were talking about the fact that we've had a roof put on our home. He had a roof put on his other home and on the other one a few years back. And what we noticed, you can't help but not notice, is that all of the roofers, the laborers, were Latinos. And I think what really struck us about that is that in each case, there was a young white male who was their supervisor. And I know in at least one case, in talking to one of those young white supervisors, you know, he made it pretty clear he had a pretty cush job. You know, he just drove around and went and checked on things, while these Latinos are up on our roof from morning until night, 7 days a week to make a living wage. You tell me how much we've progressed. And then, of course, let's look at what's been happening with African Americans for centuries and centuries and centuries. My friends, white supremacy is not just revealed in the KKK and others. It is revealed in the everyday unconscious ideas that continue to be lived out by white people like you and like me. And I sincerely believe that when people like us, who really do want to be a part of the healing, when we can take an honest look at the fact that we haven't progressed as a culture, even though we thought that we were part of the solution, that, my friends, is when we will begin to make true progress. So the next obvious thing to me to say is, okay, I seek to understand differently than I do today. Can you join me in that? I seek to understand differently than I do today, and I seek to know my role in both how I have been a part of systemic racism, and I seek to know my role in what I can change, what I can do to bring about healing of any racial divide. But here's the thing. We can't figure this out between ourselves. We must get into the conversation, into dialogue with people of color, and we must listen with the intent to be changed by what we hear. I saw this quote, and it says, "Reminder to all white people, you will continue to mess up," referencing racism. So continue to be teachable, open to correction from people of color, and vigilantly monitor yourself for defensiveness and white fragility. You never arrive as an ally. You must continually practice allyship. And this is so, so, so important for us. You know, I was reading, this was from Peggy McIntosh, and it's things like this and these are the things that we don't even think about as a people of privilege. Things like, if I should need to move, I can be pretty sure of renting or purchasing a house in an area which I can afford and in which I would want to live. I can be pretty sure that my neighbors in such a location will be neutral or pleasant to me. I can go shopping alone most of the time, pretty well assured that I will not be followed or harassed. I can turn on the television or open to the front page of the paper and see my race widely represented. When I am told about our national heritage or civilization, I am shown that people of my color made it what it is. I can be pretty sure that my children will be given curricular materials that testify to the existence of their race. And it goes on and on and on. And these are the things, you know, when you look at what we were taught with in history, we weren't taught the true history. We were taught the white version of history and how we have created this country. And I got to tell you, because it makes me emotional to think that, you know, I never had to have a conversation with my son. I never even crossed my mind to have a conversation with my son about how he needed to show up when he was out in public, and especially if he ever got pulled over by the police. And what we are learning now, you know, thankfully, because things are being filmed, we're seeing them immediately, is that this is a conversation that people of color always have had with their children. And as white people, we've just never even thought about it. Here's the thing, my friends, we cannot change anyone else. The only one that we can change is ourselves. Yet the ripple effect of the changes that we make within ourselves, the ripple effect of saying that I am willing, that I am willing to see that I do deal with white fragility. So let's look for a moment is how white fragility comes into play. When we whites are receiving feedback about things that we think we know about, or things that we know about ourselves, especially if we're being told, like I'm saying today, we've continued to be part of the problem, then the feelings that we have, we feel attacked, silenced, shamed, accused, insulted, judged, angry, scared, and outraged. And our behaviors then are that we withdraw, we cry, we silence, we argue, we deny, we focus on attention, we seek absolution, we explain, and we insist on that it's a misunderstanding. Again, it's important for us to be willing to learn and to be open and recognize. I look at all these feelings on the side that when we are receiving feedback, all of these feelings are feelings that people of color, and honestly any other ethnicity, because every ethnicity on the face of the planet culturally is less than whites, they've all felt this. for their lives. And you and I, we can enter into this conversation. And we can recognize when those feelings come up, we can tell ourselves not to withdraw. We can tell ourselves not to silence. We can stay open, because it's in staying open and staying in the conversation that we can finally find our way to resolution. But my friends, again, it cannot be a conversation with other white people, because we do not understand. We want to say I understand, but we do not understand. We must enter into conversations with people of color, with anybody who has felt this discrimination from us white people. Please, please take the time this week to watch the YouTube of Dr. Robin DiAngelo on white fragility. This was 2 days after her book came out. This is what I watched that just really shook me to the core of my being, but in a good way, in a way where I am one of those people. I don't think that I'm racist at all, that I have a racist bone in my bodies, but I see what she's saying about the systemic racism and what I'm not seeing. And I know that we want to be part of that solution. Also, I encourage you to Google, watch the documentary 13th Amendment on Netflix, and Google 75 things white people can do for racial justice. And, in doing that, you're going to find things that you can do. We must, you and I, we must become part of the solution in this. We must become part of what moves us beyond this crazy racial divide. Now, I want to move us to just a little bit different place, because I know that this is heavy, but you know what? It is heavy. And I love one of the ministers, Reverend Wendy Craig Purcell, said, we must be careful not to engage in spiritual malpractice here. There is an ugly side to everything, to New Thought. And she said, speaking up and about racism does not increase it. It exposes it so it has a chance to be addressed and healed. This is spiritual consciousness work, and it is ours to do. We are not making racism worse by focusing on it. We are shining a light on something that it's time for it to be changed in our world. And you and I, we are prepared for this. We are made for this time. We have been talking about that, we've been knowing something was coming for the last few years as we've been getting ready in our spiritual consciousness, and now is absolutely the time. But I love this. I saw this, and let's see, Leslie Dwight is who wrote it. She said, what if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other further apart. 2020 isn't canceled, but rather this year is the most important year of all. And I believe that. I believe this to be true. There is so much hope in this, my friends. There's so much pain in this. There's so much sadness, but there's so much hope. And I'll tell you what, none of us agree with the looting and the rioting with these protests, but peaceful protests are powerful. And I love seeing so many people. I loved here in Springfield seeing that road filled with people out there with a peaceful protest to say, we want change. Protests do help to bring about change. And I'm so proud of our entire country and how we are standing up together to say no more. You know what? It's going to take a very long time. It may not happen in our lifetime, but that doesn't mean that you and I, that we shouldn't be doing what is ours to do, to have the conversations that are ours to have. The old paradigm, it will fall. And you know what? And I've said this a gazillion times, and we've all said it a gazillion times, is that love will prevail. Because that's what this is all about, that love will prevail. Closing with just this, I love this. Outwardly, there is chaos. Inwardly, a new world is stirring. Listen to the heartbeat of the new. So, my friends, again, I know that this is heavy, but again, we're in pretty heavy times. But you and I, we have what we need inside of us to rise up in this time and to let love reveal itself in the biggest way that it has ever revealed itself, through us and as us, and it will make a difference. And I say to each and every one of you, I see the light, I see the love, I see the goodness, I see the willingness in each and every one of you. Namaste, and thank you. And now we're going to listen to our band, and they are singing, I can't remember. We're going to find out here in a second. We Are the Ones. Karen Drucker.
We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are the ones who will make a difference. We are the ones who will change the world. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are. I've been feeling like I can't make a difference. I've been feeling like there ain't no use. Feeling tired and a little unconscious. Coming up with every kind of excuse till I realize it's not up to me. When we join together, we shape our destiny. To see the world where we are living as one. It can be, it shall be, it will be done. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are the ones who will make a difference. We are the ones who will change the world. We are the ones. We are. We are the ones, we are. No one else is gonna make the changes. No seeds gonna fall from the sky. Nothing left to do but wake up. 'Cause it's really up to you inside. So take it one step at a time. Stand together with your end in mind. Let's see the world that we've been dreaming about. We need it now, the time is now, there is no doubt.
so true. So we have great opportunity for you to support Unity of Springfield. And I do want to encourage you, we don't have our regular congregation here, so giving isn't up where we would love for it to be. So if you have the opportunity maybe to give a little bit extra, that would be wonderful. We would greatly appreciate that. You can do that at our website, unityofspringfield.org. You can download our Tithely app, and you can text it to the general fund, 417-815-3232. You can go to PayPal at ccunity@sbcglobal.net, or you can send a check to 2214 East Seminole, Springfield, Missouri, 65804. And it does take all of us, every single one of us, giving what we can to keep this ministry thriving. We want to be in the black on a regular basis. And you know what? We should be in the black on a regular basis because this message is that important. So thank you so much. Thank you for your giving to our ministry. A reminder that our little library is also a small food pantry if you'd like to take some food by there and place it in there. We are accepting donations for our yard sale. We don't know if it's going to be indoor or outdoor, but from 9 to 11:30 on Mondays. No furniture and no clothing, please, but Lisa and Mary will be there. A reminder, too, if you'd like to get on Facebook and become part of our Unity Connection group, just Unity of Springfield Connection group, just look us up, and we would love to have you on there. Also, Abraham Esther Hicks meets that group on Saturdays on Zoom from noon to 2 p.m. The meeting ID number is 163078249. There is no password needed, and if you don't have Zoom, you can call in on 1-312-626-6799, and we will have this information here on our Facebook page. Next Sunday, this Sunday, Amy did an awesome job on talking about the intention. And next Sunday in our Adult World Religion and New Thought class, Mary Hilsebeck Huber is going to be talking about the 4 agreements because she said it's a timely thing to talk about on that. Obviously, our Sunday celebration service is here. Wednesday evening renewal, we do a Zoom call. At 7 o'clock, meeting ID and meeting password are here. They will be also on this Facebook page. Don't forget, we have our daily word uplift at 12:30, Monday through Saturday. Check in here for anything else. And if you have teens, I encourage you to have your teens get on Zoom on Sundays at 10:45 and Wednesdays at 5:45 p.m. And at 12:15, Rachel Willis, our junior Sunday school coordinator, does a wonderful lesson on the Unity of Springfield Youth and Families group Facebook page. So please do go check that out. And now let's close with our prayer for protection. And when we do this, let's see this for everyone. Let's just take this out into the entire world, not leaving a single person out, as we say together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so now we're going to close with our song, Alive with the Spirit of God. I invite you to get up and let your bodies move because we are alive with the Spirit of God. Here we go. Let's get some movement going. You can be silly.
Alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive with the Spirit of God. alive. I am alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God.
Here we go.
I'm alive with the Spirit of God. I'm alive with the Spirit of God. I'm alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God. I am alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God.
One more time.
I am alive, y'all. I'm alive with the Spirit of God.
Woo! Yay! Have a beautiful and have a very blessed week. Come back to this Facebook page. I will be putting things on here that you can maybe do some research yourself on. But I say namaste to all of you.